big shock to me. I was like, how is that even possible? So it's a completely different car. It's like a truck, feeling-wise, you know, it feels like a truck. And for Max, this is the moment now where the pressure just gets astronomical. Welcome back to F1 Fridays. This week we're in Brazil. I won here twice, 2014, 2015, several pole positions also, so I know the track very, very well. And in this video, I'm going to cover Turn 1, the breaking point. We saw Max Verstappen do incredibly well in Mexico. I'm going to explain it to you for this track, how difficult that is. I'm going to also explain to you the championship battle now mentally. Verstappen against Hamilton, you know, where they are now mentally. One being the favorite now, one being the underdog, you know. So I'm going to explain that to you. And finally, also I'm going to take you through how Max Verstappen overtook me here in the rain in Turn 3 on the outside, how that was possible. I'm going to show you some of those details. So let's get going, but before we get going, you have the chance to get a surprise giveaway from me if you answer the following question. For the whole year, what was your favorite wheel-to-wheel action this year? What was the best battle, regardless of the outcome? So if you get the top trending comment on this video, I'll send you a little surprise gift. So good luck with that, and now let's start with the hot lap. And now we're going to jump into the slow lap here. I'm going to explain everything to you. So first of all, Turn 1. It's quite very difficult because it drops away like this. So you have to brake, and you have to keep an eye on the right-hand side of the road because it closes in, you know, and at the same time you're looking at the corner. So you brake, and at the same time you're steering slightly, and you try and stay up high to then use the maximum amount of radius to turn into the corner. So you try and stay up very high here, whilst always keeping an eye on the side of the road because it's closing in. And then very, very late, third gear, very late, you turn in, and then you have to hit this apex and the curb in exactly the right place because it's flat, and then suddenly it goes up. So you need to hit it in exactly the right place and stay tight here. And in the exit, stay even towards the inside from the middle of the track because this is the next part, which is so important to get almost flat. I think it's just a very, very slight lift. And again, you need to hit this curb in exactly the right place. And then the next one is the most difficult because by here you're flat and just trying to fight the car. And here you have to nail it because there's a really ugly bump in the curb right here. So if you go 10 centimeters too far over the curb, you hit that bump and it just puts you out of control. If you don't use enough of the road, you're going to be slow. So it's really, every time hitting the curbs in the right place is tough here, and it's so easy to win and lose loads of time here. So then you're flat out there through there. And I just want to explain also Turn 1. You saw the battle Turn 1 in Mexico, Max Verstappen and Bottas. So the big challenge there is, and the incredible thing that Max Verstappen did in Mexico, getting that braking point so perfect. When you arrive here in Brazil to the first corner after a start, the last time that you were driving and arriving there at 320 kilometers an hour with zero fuel in the car, so with a very, very light fuel. Light car means much more grip in the car. And also braking as a result at completely different place. You're braking at 100 meters. Now at the start, you have 150 kilos of fuel in the car, which the car only weighs 700, so it's 20% more weight. So it's a completely different car. It's like a truck, feeling-wise. It feels like a truck. Then you also arrive at Turn 1 after the start. The start is very close to Turn 1. So you arrive at Turn 1 maybe with 220 kilometers an hour instead of 320. And the combination of that, and maybe especially if you're then on the inside, so you're on the dirt, it's impossible to know where exactly your braking point is. So it's really instinctive feel that you need to apply in that moment. to get that braking point right. And if you brake a little bit too late, you're straight on and your race is done, you know. So that's the huge challenge, is that you cannot really prepare for the situation after the start for that braking point, because it's all so different and so new. And that makes it really, really difficult to get the turn 1 braking right, especially here in Brazil also. So now let's go through turn 3. So this is where Max overtook me in the wet. And so, I mean, it's a pretty simple explanation actually. In the wet there was like one dry line, which was always on the racing line, and then on the outside it was all wet. Nobody had ever been there before, and that's why it's quite high risk to go there, because you don't know if there might be too much water and you get aquaplaning and bam, the car is just gone. You know, you can't really foresee that so well. But Max was doing very clever that behind the safety car he was practicing all those different areas on the track. I could see him behind me, you know, going crazy, but I never even thought of going to that area because it was just very, very high risk. So he was trying to see where the grip was and if he could allow himself to go there. And then the benefit of offsetting to my line is that you can see something, because if you follow me, you have so much spray that you just can't see where you're going, so there's no chance for you to go close. So the benefit of offsetting also is that you have visibility. So then Max in turn 3, right after the restart, he went out wide and just really kept it lit on the outside, and then passed me in the exit of the corner, which was like big shock to me. I was like, how's that even possible? But of course one has to remember that the biggest difference there is that in my case, my championship was at stake, so my childhood dream. If I made a single mistake in this Brazil race, which was the last 3 races in the championship fight with Lewis, my championship was gone. You know, so that, and Max had nothing to lose. In fact, he also had a huge spin and almost crashed in the race. So that's why that does have a big impact, that one driver can just take, you know, big risk, and me in my case, I had to be so careful and drive like so carefully, and that does make a big difference. Nevertheless, he did a fantastic job. So now let's go on down the straight here. Okay, here this is a pretty standard corner. The difficulty is that it's kind of like, it kind of cambers outside, so it's like always trying to push you off a little bit, especially that inside curb. So you brake it around 70, you downshift to fourth gear, and then you try and steer in as late as possible, still get to that apex there, and then this is quite ugly, because here it's where it cambers like out, so if you do go out here, it like pulls you further out. Anyway, you just use as much track as you can. Then you come back here, easy flat. Okay, here's really difficult. So here now on the entry, you're arriving with 7th gear. On the entry here, it's a double apex. So the first apex is not important, it's the second one that's important, so you can slightly miss the first apex. And here, it's important, first of all, don't brake too late and too hard. Like, brake a little bit earlier, do everything very smooth, because the car needs to stay flat. As soon as you cause like the car to pitch from the braking or whatever, you cause disturbances and you'll lose a lot of grip. So you need to be really careful and smooth with whatever you're doing. So sometimes you can even like keep a little bit of throttle in the car and just brake a little bit, so you have a throttle brake overlap. That helps stability. And then, okay, so you carry the speed in here. So you do 6th gear, out to the middle, and then back. And it's the second apex that's the most crucial, because this is the tightest part of the corner. So here you need to be back at the apex and then use all the track. And then straighten the steering wheel before you start braking. That's so important. Straighten the steering wheel before you start braking. Then start braking. Try and keep it straight as long as possible. 3rd gear, 2nd gear in the end. And then turn in and really carry the speed in and use all the curb, all the way to the grass here, because it's very, very flat, this curb. And then stay quite tight on the exit, middle of the track. And then here again, take the maximum speed into the corner, brake very, very late. So here is where you like brake and rotate. So you do like a V shape out of it. And then here, once you're rotated, it's flat out again. And you get a storming acceleration here, use a lot of the curb. Now here is so important, like go straight back to the left, because you need to be straight by the time you brake for this next one. So straight back to the 4th, 2nd gear, late turn in, again, carry the speed in, hit the apex, and as early on power as possible, use all the track on the exit, use the whole curb on the exit. Then this corner here is easy flat, just keep it really calm on the steering wheel. And then straight line again before the next one, 5th, 3rd gear, and then carry the speed in, hit that apex on the inside, and then as power on as much as possible, use as much of the curb on the exit as possible. And then here now, it's so important to make it one corner up the hill. So stay wide, stay wide, stay wide, stay wide. One steering input for the whole up the hill. You know, no, none of that, because otherwise you scrub speed, you lose speed. And then it's just head down, and get the maximum speed until the end of the lap. And now we're going to jump into the Q&A session. Question 1 from Scott. How much harder is it physically to drive in an anti-clockwise track compared to a clockwise track? Yeah, so it is a lot harder, mainly on the neck really, because it's so tough. There's so many G-forces on the neck, and especially that last part up the hill. You know, you're just hanging in there, holding your neck. So if you watch carefully, you'll see the drivers just let their head hang, and so they're hanging in the cockpit, you know, connected to the cockpit wall, and just trying to look a little bit that way. You'll see that a lot on TV from everybody. Question 2, Joshua. The Brazil GP is known as the Grand Prix with one of the most overtakes. This fact makes qualifying not as important. Yes, but still, nevertheless, qualifying, you know, is, as always in F1, very, very important. But yes, you can overtake here, because as soon as you start getting tire degradation and onto that long straight, you can get such a good run out of the last corner, slipstream, DRS, and then do a big lunge into turn 1. And that's one of the best places to overtake, which always gives exciting racing, especially if also it rains. Question 3 from Jackson. How do you set up a car that can deal with undulations? What's different to Mexico, for example? You have a long straight here and many long straights, so you don't go max downforce, you go a little bit less downforce, which makes the car more sliding around the track. Also, you have a lot of undulations, you know, in slow speed corners. So here you go softer on the springs on the car, so that the car can take up the bumps more easily and more smoothly, you know. The negative from going soft is that it will generally roll more when you're going faster, and rolling more hurts the aerodynamics especially as well. So because as the car rolls, there's more air that passes underneath, and it's less perfect. It's a less perfect aerodynamical platform. So the more the car rolls, the less the aerodynamics are working. So that's kind of the compromise there. Question 4 from Sterling Moss. No, from Sterling. How many race scenario plans do you prepare before each race? What if no planned scenario happens? Yeah, you go through all the different kinds of strategies as much as you can, but then everything changes during the race. So it's really then you need to have the information from the engineer, what's happening, which sometimes the engineers are not good at doing, and then really adapt as you go along. And that's where Max Verstappen really has been so impressive recently, how he has the capacity to go flat out with the car, but still have so much overview of everything else that's going on. It's been phenomenal to see that. I mean, that's really, really impressive. Question 5 from Arby. What do you think Lewis's mentality is for these last few races where he finds himself on the back foot? Well, at the moment he's still in the championship fight, but it starts to be the case that he's not the favorite anymore, you know, and that's when the pressure comes off, because you start to have nothing to lose. And for Max, this is the moment now where the pressure just gets astronomical. Like, you don't really understand that from outside, but I was in that situation. And in Max's situation now, he starts to be really the favorite, and it starts to be in his hands to win this championship. And the pressure just gets ridiculously high in this situation. And so this is like a new situation now where Max is gonna have to manage this and handle this. And like in my situation, when I got to that point, it was like impossible for me to get a pole position or to win a race, because it just took so much capacity from my brain. This, oh my God, am I gonna mess it up, or am I gonna manage to win this? You know, it's my one chance. It took so much capacity from my brain that I didn't have 100% capacity to drive a racing car anymore. So that's why I didn't get one pole position anymore and didn't win a single race anymore from that point on. And I was just hanging on for dear life and trying to be second all the time to bring home that championship, you know? So it's so extreme, that situation, especially if you're there for the first time. So let's see how Max handles that. I mean, so far he's done it incredibly well, but it's really, really tough. And for Lewis, it's making it easier now, because he's not the favorite anymore. So he can really, I mean, he's got nothing to lose. So just go for it. And that will that can also like bring the performance difference back in line, or even put Lewis ahead again, just from that mental part. So that's it with the question and answer. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck again with getting the most liked comment in this video. The question you're gonna have to answer is, so what was your favorite like wheel-to-wheel action this year? So good luck with that. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe here to my YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you see when new videos get uploaded. The Rimac is coming soon. So make sure to subscribe to not miss out on that one. It's gonna be epic. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.